This is Talk Radio 680, WCBM. It's time now for Woman Talk Live with your host, Ann Quasman.
Hi, this is Ann Quasman, and you're listening to Woman Talk Live. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. We're so glad you're here with us on this weekend. We've got a great show for you tonight because joining us here in the studio are two people we love having on the show. The Woman Talk Live relationship experts, Lori and Bob Hollander of Relationships Work. And tonight we're going to be talking about how conflict can make or break your relationship. Sounds pretty intriguing, so welcome you two.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Ann.
Hi.
So excited to be here.
As I said, we're going to be talking about how conflict can make or break your relationship. And so everybody just stay tuned because we have lots to talk about. And just in case you're joining us for the first time, Woman Talk Live is the show where we have conscious conversations about topics and issues that matter most to women and the men who care about women. And we're brought to you by some wonderful sponsors who keep us on the air every week, among them being Lori and Bob Hollander, speak of the devil, of Relationships Work, Raskin Global's Women Getting Wise on Wealth, the Wealth for Life program at St. Agnes Hospital, and Jo Ellen Sosby, the Toolbox Tom girl of Reliable Repairs. And you can find out more about all of these great Woman Talk Live sponsors and experts by going to womantalklive.com. Click on the sponsor link, and you can find out more information about them. And I just want to say hello to the voice you heard before, my friend, the fabulous producer, Tori.
Hello again, everyone, officially.
Yes. So wonderful always to see your smiling face.
It's good to be here.
Well, it's good to have you here.
And I love these two.
I know you do.
Lori and Bob.
I know you do.
We love
I
you.
wasn't sure you were going to be here this weekend, so.
Well, I didn't want to miss it if there was any way I could be here.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh,
thanks,
so
Tori.
Bob,
We got a
another
fan.
reason to behave yourself.
Well, she just wanted that great big hug I always give her when I come in.
And leave. Yes.
And leave.
And leave. And so, Tori, okay, you have been married for almost how long?
Well, going on 2 years.
Oh, my gosh, I was thinking it was just a year. So
In March
2 years.
will be 2 years.
Okay. So have you ever thought about how conflict can make your relationship stronger?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We
And
have
that's-
arguments sometimes, and I think this is it. It's over. I'm done.
But does it make your relationship stronger after it's over with?
It depends on what it's about.
Okay.
Some things I think just chip away at the relationship, and then others you can kind of come out of and be stronger on the other side. So
I think you're going to get a lot out of tonight's show.
we'll see.
We'll
I always
see.
do with these two.
I know it. I know it. And so anyway, I want to remind everybody that in addition to listening to Woman Talk Live on the air or online during the show, by midweek, I'm going to have this podcast posted up in the archive at womantalklive.com. So there's really no excuse to miss Woman Talk Live ever.
Ever.
And speaking of podcasts, last week's show is now up. And Tori and I loved last week's show with Ronette Owens, a brand new first-time homeowner as a result of her partnership with Habitat for Humanity of the Chesapeake, and Monica Mitchell, who is the membership chair for Habitat Chesapeake, the Women Build program. So, Tori, were they great?
They were. They really were. I love the idea of the Habitat homes.
Did anything stick with you that or anything you learned last week that you didn't know before?
I didn't. Well, I guess before I thought they were just free homes to needy folks.
Yep.
I didn't realize you had to actually work for that. You had to fix your credit. You had to go through everything everyone else who purchases a home has to go through.
And you have to pay a mortgage.
And you have to pay a mortgage.
And so, the wonderful thing about it is it's an interest-free mortgage. But other than that, you have to go through a qualification process, and you've got to be able to pay the mortgage. Yeah.
And you've got to do work on other homes before you can get your own. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great program.
Yeah, several hundred hours of volunteer work and all. And so a really, really great program. And what I loved was Ronette, this is her first home. She'll be a first-time home buyer. And women are building her home because it's the Women Build Home this year in Baltimore City, actually, this year. And so anyway, wonderful, wonderful program. They're going to have the ribbon cutting for her home on December 7th. And so I'll be there, and I'm sure a gazillion other people will be there. But
All bundled up, I'm sure.
I'm sure we will be, but it'll be really, really fun. And so it was a great, inspiring show last week. And so if you missed it, it's in the podcast archive at womantalklive.com, and it's the October 27th show. show. So be sure to check it out. And we always love supporting and sponsoring events in our community, and there's some posted up in the events link at womantalklive.com. But I want to remind you that Woman Talk Live has kicked off the 6th annual Girls Gone Great Scholarship Essay Contest, and that's to recognize a young woman in Maryland who's making a difference in her community. And so the winner of this year's contest, or our 2013 Girl Gone Great, will win $3,000 for continuing education, and that's donated by Talk Radio 680 WCBM, Raskin Global's Women Getting Wise on Wealth, and the Baltimore Power Group. And we're looking for another girl. Gone great.
This is number 6.
Number 6, and so she'll be fabulous. And so to find out details for the contest, go to womantalklive.com, and on the left sidebar, there's a Girl Gone Great icon. And if you click on that, you can get all the details of the
contest.
The contest. What am I talking about? The contest. And you can also have a flyer you can download. There's a flyer there that you can download. So help us find our 2013 Girl Gone Great, because we know she is out there and you might know her. But right now, we've got to do a little bit of business. This is Ann Quasman, and you're listening to Woman Talk Live. When we return, I'm going to be talking to the fabulous Lori and Bob Hollander, the love experts, about conflict.
When I was a little girl, I dreamed of my wedding. I imagined my dress. I even baked my future wedding cake in my Easy Bake Oven. But the best part was dreaming about my gift registry. I had all the typical items any new bride would want. You know, the basics. A set of assorted and color-coordinated wall anchors and screws, a power drill, and of course, the coveted you'll-never-buy-it-for-yourself tile-cutting saw. Hi, I'm Jo Ellen Sosby, founder of Toolbox Tom Girl. Just a typical woman on a typical mission, to put a hammer in the hand of every woman and teach her how to use it. Join me at toolboxtomgirl.com and learn the secrets of becoming an independent, toilet-fixing, weather-stripping, money-saving, do-it-yourself woman. Plus, I'll introduce you to my woman-run residential repair business and show you how to get the tools made just for women. Visit toolboxtomgirl.com or call 443-286-6923 and see what happens when women wear the work boots. Pink, of course.
Papi.
Yes, mija.
I love walking around our block.
Me too.
It's just like walking around the world, but it doesn't take as long.
That would take a long time.
No, really. My friend Kayla's from India, and Lily's family is from China, and Beza travels a lot to see her family in Ethiopia.
And don't forget the Murphys.
I really like our neighborhood, and all the families from different places.
We're lucky, sweetie. We live in a diverse community.
Diverse?
Yeah. It's a place where people from all different backgrounds come together and live, and share, and appreciate everything that makes us special.
I like it.
Neighborhood diversity promotes a greater sense of engagement, teaches that stereotypes are wrong, and better prepares our children for the global community. To learn more about how the Fair Housing Act promotes diversity, visit HUD.gov/Fair Housing. The Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, and familial status. A message from the Department of Housing and Urban Development in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
We women make the majority, if not all, of the financial decisions in our households. We must be pretty confident, right? In reality, most of us have some fear. That's why Raskin Global and Women Getting Wise on Wealth help women empower their relationship with money. Through free seminars and resources for whole life financial planning, we put the power where it belongs, with us. Take charge of your finances. Visit womengettingwiseonwealth.com and let Raskin Global empower you.
The #1 name in weather forecasting is back in Baltimore on the most powerful names in talk. The Weather Channel. Hear up-to-the-minute forecast and inclement weather alerts throughout the day on Talk Radio 680 WCBM and WCBM.com. And now more of Woman Talk Live on Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
Welcome back. This is Ann Klosman, and you're listening to Woman Talk Live, brought to you in part by Unlocked Box and Studio J Design. And joining me tonight in the studio are the Woman Talk Live relationship experts for 6 years now. Can you believe it? Lori and Bob Hollander of Relationships Work, the go-to relationship coaches and counselors for individuals and couples who surround you with 360 degrees of support so you can create an extraordinary relationship and partnership. So welcome back again.
Thanks, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Okay, well, you were here back in August, and we
Yes.
talked about the 4 communication habits that can lead to divorce, and that was based on John Gottman's research. And tonight we're going to be talking about the way couples handle conflict and how that can either break up a relationship or make a relationship even stronger. So how does that tie in with the Gottman work?
Well, the Gottman work talks about the 4 habits that will create or lead to divorce in
And if I remember
relationships.
correctly, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
That's right. And they are criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling, which means putting up the wall. And
Oh, no. So if that's going on, that obviously you're going to have conflict in your relationship.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And so tell us why, then, people learning how to deal with conflict, why that is so important.
Yeah. Well, Ann, have you ever seen a relationship where there's no conflict?
No.
No?
Well, we have. and-
Well, I have. Actually, my
Yeah.
parents never, I mean, it was under the surface, but it
Yes.
was never anything. They never had arguments in front of us, and they never
Yes.
acted like anything was wrong. My mother would just be in a huff.
Right.
You know?
Right,
Well, and
right.
my parents didn't have an argument for 20 years, and then my dad left.
Yeah.
So that shows you what happens.
Yeah.
So
And my dad was a big baby and would yell and scream and slam the door, and Mom said, just let him go. And they stayed together for a very long time.
right.
Isn't that
Yeah.
okay?
So you have to figure out ways to deal with conflict because it's really easy to be in love when everything's going okay.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but when
I am just
yeah.
crazy about Bob Crossman when everything's going okay.
I know. But when things aren't going okay, that is
Yeah.
the real
Well,
test.
Yeah, Tori just slit her throat.
Oh, boy. Is your husband listening, Tori?
No.
Okay, good thing. So it's really inevitable. And, you know, there's consequences if people don't learn how to manage conflict.
You know, Tori was saying there are certain things that tend to maybe become a problem. And those are, I always see that as, you know, conflict is pain in the relationship. And these are the very things that are screaming at you internally to come up. It's almost like conflict is an invitation to deal with the pain of the relationship.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And if you don't deal with it, what happens is 2 people end up maybe avoiding things, and then resentment builds up. And then eventually what happens is the relationship either is distant or that relationship is shallow and becomes vulnerable to an affair. You know?
Okay. Because, you know, whoever might look more attractive, of course, wouldn't bring any conflict.
Well, yes. And you're not so deeply connected with your
Yeah.
partner if you're not working through your stuff.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, anyway, what happens then? You know, since being able to deal with conflict is so important, you know, why aren't we better at doing it? I mean, why have we not ever learned how to handle it?
Well, Ann, you just mentioned one of them.
Yes.
You said your parents never had conflict in front of you.
Yeah.
So how are we supposed to learn how to manage conflict if we don't see them doing it? You know, people used to protect their kids from conflict. Bob, what did we do with our kids?
Well, we would give them a session.
No, we would fight in front of them, not fight, but have differences and disagreements.
I think that's of all the strange things that that happen within their childhood. That one of the things that we're proudest of mostly is to allow them to see us in conflict. Of course, we weren't demeaning, each other.
So you weren't name calling?
No,
or anything
no.
like
But
that.
we were angry at each other, and they saw that. and then they saw us getting back together again, how we dealt with the anger towards each other, and how we owned our part. And they watched it, and we see them doing the same thing with their friends.
Okay, I was going to ask you because they're in college or post-college now. And so have they ever come back to you and said, thank you for doing that, or any comments from them about
They never
that?
thank us ever for anything.
That's not true. Actually, as they've gotten older, they have thanked us, especially when they compare themselves to some of their friends and what they've seen in other families. And, you know, they can see differences. And so we taught them the whole thing. We taught them it's okay to be angry, how to deal with conflict, and then how to apologize and forgive. And Bob and I always made sure we did that with each other in front of them.
Okay. So, Laura, you said that you grew up in one of those homes, sort of like me, where nobody ever had conflict, or it wasn't vocal. Exactly. It might have been seething underneath the surface. And that's what happens a lot.
Exactly.
Then. Okay. So I imagine with a lot of the couples that you see, you know, you come in and you just watch them seethe on the couch.
Yeah, they seethe. And the problem here is that you need to talk about it, because a lot of times the seething comes from down in the unconscious. And so, Lori, you remind me of a lot of people that annoyed me when I was a kid.
Really?
And I was, yes.
That's why he married you.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks.
I'm still trying to work that out. And so if I don't really evolve or help bring it to the surface, I'm going to take all these unconscious feelings and attribute them to you when you only deserve maybe 25% of that.
Exactly.
And so the only way to do it is to analyze it, to talk about it, to own that part and distinguish the past from the present.
Right. Now, the other reason that I think our generation did not learn to deal with conflict is because way back, my parents' roles were very defined. Mm-hmm. You know, male, female, and who was in charge of making the big decisions?
Father knows best.
Dad.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so women knew their place. And then women started getting a little bit uppity, right? Okay. So now we're supposed to share power. Well, what happens when you share power? There's a power struggle.
Exactly.
Nothing's 50-50, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, people are wanting and desiring what they want in the relationship, what they want for their lives, and I think it's and that could be seem controlling, and I think we all are controlling, but I guess we have to also appreciate what the other person wants and needs, and how do we blend the two?
Well, that's a wonderful thing to say, but nobody does that.
Right.
Usually, before you get married, you don't go, okay, you know, how are we going to handle our power struggles, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But you know what? You can start thinking that way, and that's why if someone's angry, the other person needs to allow this person to kind of be a wave and then kind of come down, and then the person who is angry focuses in upon themselves. And then once they can establish what's going on with them, they have a clear picture about how they affected the other person.
Well, you know what? That sounds like all well and good. But if you haven't, you know, if you've been raised in a home where you didn't have any of that going on, and you haven't learned any skills, then, you know, when that happens, that button gets pushed, you aren't going to be saying, oh my gosh, I need to let this wave flow. And
well,
when it comes,
if they
look at Tori.
Tori, stop making faces. If they came to Lori and Bob, I'm telling you, this is the most incredible thing, and we've seen this. This is easier than you think, because you have all those emotions, but the cognitive ability to be able to recognize the patterns and the dynamics we all have, and I'm telling you, people can change this relationship, and it allows other wonderful feelings to come out.
Okay. Well, then let's talk about some of those skills then, because it sounds like that's what we need to be working on, right?
Oh, right. Well, the first one is active listening. And, you know, active listening is what therapists do, and it's also what loving partners do. And I used to teach a class that was 7 hours long on how to listen. And people are shocked by that because, like, what do you mean how to listen? You know,
why did it take 7 hours for people to learn how to listen?
It is a skill.
Okay.
And it has 4 parts. One is body language, and that's like Bob, when I ask you to listen to me, I actually ask you to put the paper down and actually face me and look into my eyes, right?
Were you saying something?
There you go.
Okay. Yes.
That's part of listening.
That's part of listening. And sometimes guys think that I can use maybe 10 or 15% of my brain to listen and do other things.
Yeah.
And I think we can. I don't know the depth in which we're listening.
Well, you know what the thing of it is? You hear what the other person is saying. Whether you're listening is something different, right?
Actually, you know what? I never hear what Lori's saying. It's almost like I hear what I think she's going to say. I already know what she's going to say, and I'm working up an answer. In that sense, I never really do
exactly
listen.
So do you interrupt her like when she's about halfway through the sentence and tell her what she's going to be saying?
Well, if I already know,
you know that, Ann?
why should I wait if I already know?
Yeah, and I'll say, Bob, you're interrupting me.
Yeah, and that's so annoying because it just slows down the process. But I have learned that a lot of these feelings are not coming forth from Lori. They're coming forth from my assumption that I know what's going on, and I really don't.
Right.
So real listening means you have to slow it down and you have to put your responses out of your mind and really focus on trying to figure out the meaning of the words that your partner's saying.
And that might mean asking questions.
Yes.
Okay.
And digging deeper.
Yeah, and we say almost like jumping into the skin of not only what your spouse or your partner is saying, but trying to understand and empathize what they're feeling. That's very hard.
Exactly, and that's another part.
Because most of the time when this comes up, we're so busy planning our defense that we don't even think about asking questions or putting yourself or empathizing.
If you're planning your defense, then already you're not a partnership.
Right. Yeah. So you can't treat your relationship like a football game. Right. You know? Because they're always attack and defend.
It's one team on that field.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else about active listening?
That's you also have to paraphrase to let the other person know that you understand what they said. So Bob may come back and say, "Is this what you're talking about?" and say it in his own words.
And for you guys out there, I have to tell you that it's important to give some kind of sign that you're listening. I could be listening and driving, and I'm really listening, and I need to start shaking my head up and down in affirmation. But because I'm really listening, but Lori keeps saying, "Are you hearing a word?" And I really am. I need to signal her that I am listening.
And see, women do that automatically.
They'll say,
exactly. And those are actually called encouragers.
Okay.
And but Bob doesn't do that. So he sits there looking like a stone, and I'm like, "Are you hearing me?" Yeah. What are you talking about?
Okay.
And then the last part is reflecting the feelings. So you want to really look for what is the person saying and what are they feeling. And that is a lot of work to do.
Okay, so go a little bit more into that one.
Yeah. So, well, that's where, if a woman is complaining, let's say, about something her husband's doing, instead of him getting defensive, he should be curious and say, "Really? Tell me more about that." And then again, feed it back to her and say, "Wow, I can see why that really makes you angry." Identify the feeling.
Yeah, you really should not be focusing upon how this statement affects me. You can do that, but when it's coming, and it takes a lot of practice, but I know guys mostly need to be and can do this. I sometimes fail at this. I really try to understand she's angry. Whenever you're angry, Lori, I have developed the mantra, and that mantra is,
"Shut up, Bob." No.
Yeah. You're going to lose, Bob, if you're going to defend against this. And the only thing I can do is, in my mind, I've linked her anger with I'm overwhelmed and I'm scared. And if I could focus on that, I don't focus on how I feel like I'm being pushed around or something. I am focusing upon her pain. And when I do, it seems like she immediately knows that I'm connecting with her.
That's right. And that's one of the keys.
Okay. And so that's the first skill that people need to learn is the active listening.
Right.
And so what's is there
next?
another one?
Yes, assertiveness. And this goes to how you speak to each other. And as we all know, when people fight, sometimes they get very aggressive.
Name calling. Yeah.
Name calling. What other things do people do? They
become sarcastic.
Their voices get loud. Some people even punch the wall or, something like that when it's really extreme, which is getting towards the edge of something dangerous.
Exactly.
Domestic violence.
Okay.
So learning to be assertive means being direct, honest, open, authentic, but saying it in a kind way. Because we always tell our couples, Bob, they could say anything to each other if they do it in a kind way.
In a clear way.
Yes.
And sometimes you've said things to me, Lori, I might as well just expose this, that it was very unkind.
Yeah.
Because you weren't really happy with me.
That's right.
And but these are things needed to be said because I didn't understand what was going on. So in the moment, I felt like you were unfair and overly emotional about a point that I didn't understand. But once I understood it, then that was it. It was mostly understanding.
Right. And using those I statements, so owning the feeling.
Right. Well, what about, you mentioned this about people being overly aggressive, which is in your face, the name calling and all of that. What about being passive aggressive? How does that come into all of this?
Well, that happens.
That's what I witnessed
yes.
in my. That's what I. Yeah, explain what that is.
Okay.
Because I think that is what I witnessed in my home growing up was passive aggressive.
Okay. Well, passive aggressive means when people don't say anything.
Yeah.
And usually it's one person that does this. And let's say it's the woman. She builds up resentment, builds up, doesn't say anything. And, this stuff is simmering under there. And one day, the last straw happens. And she explodes and moves to the other side, which is the aggressive. And then she's like, oh, my goodness, that's not like me. Really a nice woman. So she feels guilty, and then she goes back to being passive again. So you go from passive, build up, aggressive, then you feel bad, and then you go back to being passive over and over. And the only way out is assertive.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you about passive aggressive because I also think about it in almost this sabotaging thing that people do that are passive aggressive, where they don't outwardly look mean or anything, but there's some sabotage going on in the relationship because of it.
Well, I think that, first of all, passive aggressive people are afraid to deal with the feelings. Okay. And a lot of it, and fear usually brings out anger. But the passive aggressive person, I think, needs to be able to look inside themselves and ask them, why am I sabotaging this relationship? Because I am afraid of what might happen. But it's exactly what might happen that brings it to the fore. And I'll tell you, a lot of guys where women are passive aggressive, this is why they think my wife is so overly emotional. They don't see the buildup. They don't see, they see the straw that breaks the camel's back. They don't see all those things. And so instead of us realizing what we have been doing, all we see is this one little incident thinking, oh my God, she's so emotional.
Right.
Why is she so upset about that?
Yeah. Yeah, and so that one little thing, which could be almost minor, but it's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So it's not a good thing, and the reason people do that, as Bob said, I agree, that they're afraid or they don't have the communication skills.
Okay.
And that's what we teach people.
And the biggest thing in a relationship is to express and understand your fear and to face it, because that's where the pain is.
And don't you think you also have to feel safe enough? You have to have this level of trust and feel safe enough that if you do that, you won't be attacked by your partner.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, the more you have conflict, I always think we need more conflict in relationships, and the more you can go through it in a healthy manner, addressing all the issues, the more trust you have in a relationship. This relationship can handle anything.
Right. And, oftentimes when people come into therapy, they come in to see us and they'll say, well, this is the only place I can talk about this.
Wow.
And we say, why? And they say, because it's the only place that's safe.
That you aren't going to be judging them.
That, and plus their partner's not going to become defensive or attack them.
Yeah.
Or be aggressive, And so we teach them how to talk about it, and then we encourage them to, how are you going to make it safe out there? How are you going to make it safe at home to have this dialogue?
Okay.
That's what we teach.
And sometimes what we do is we invite them to call us in between our sessions.
Right.
In case they are swept up and hijacked by their feelings. And we say, okay, you know what doesn't work. We want you to do this. We want you to listen, or we want you to express your vulnerabilities. And I tell you, expressing your vulnerabilities is the most powerful thing you could do in a relationship.
Do you know one of the books that I'm reading right now is called Daring Greatly by Dr. Brene Brown, and she's a research person at University of Houston, and she has given one of the most publicized TED Talks, you know, the TED Talks that are on YouTube and video and all. And it's all about being vulnerable and how to be vulnerable, not only in relationships, but in our careers and whatever, and what power that brings.
You know, when I feel that Lori's angry with me, okay, and I just meet it with anger, but when she's hurt, all of a sudden, I can't take it.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys cannot take it when they feel the person who they love is hurt. Now, their walls come up when they feel someone's aggressive. But if you are really open, women and ladies, with your hurt, and men too, the other person is going to be affected on a much deeper level.
And be more willing. Right. Be more willing to go there. And you know what? We have got to take a break right now. We've got to do a little bit of business. This is Ann Quasman, and you're listening to Woman Talk Live. So stay tuned, and I'll be back to continue this conversation with Lori and Bob Hollander.
We're going to see those cooler than average temperatures stay with us not only through the rest of the weekend, but also into the work week. Now, by the middle part of the week, we've got some rain and wind to deal with, it looks like, on Wednesday. And again, those temperatures really only warming up into the mid-50s, maybe by Friday. Now, tonight, a few passing clouds. We will drop back to the mid to upper 30s. And then for Sunday, a few afternoon clouds with lots of sunshine, high near 50 degrees. I'm Jeff Eno from the Weather Channel for Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
Hi, I'm Shauna.
And I'm Kiefer.
And we're Thompson Square. We're blessed to be able to perform in front of thousands of people every night.
And when we sing this song, Glass, it always sends a powerful message.
The lyrics speak to how fragile we all are and how life's journey is not always a straight and simple path.
We're honored to be speaking out on behalf of a cause that is very dear to us, Child Fund International.
We may shine. Child Fund has been changing the lives of children in need for over 50 years.
In 31 countries, they find ways to improve the lives of impoverished kids because Child Fund doesn't let poverty slow them down.
Their mission is to educate, to empower, and to help these children thrive at all the stages of their lives.
And to become leaders of enduring change. This is what Child Fund is all about.
Disrupting poverty, creating opportunities, and brighter futures. Learn how at childfund.org. That's childfund.org.
Weight loss is one of the most complex challenges a person can face. But your success story starts now with Well for Life, only at St. Agnes Hospital. This total health program provides you with a personal coach as well as a team of health professionals who empower you to take control and make lasting changes. The commitment is up to you. The support is up to Well for Life. Visit lifeprogram.com today. The Well for Life program at St. Agnes. Wellness from every angle.
Hi, I'm Amy Grant. Sometimes, without warning, life switches directions. This past year, as my sisters and I shared our last moments with our mom, I learned some important lessons. Unexpected turns are much easier to handle if you have a plan. That includes making smart insurance decisions. For starters, you need unbiased information. That's why I've partnered with the National Association of Insurance Commissioners to help you get the tools you need. Go to insureyouonline.org for more information.
Hi, this is Mike Gerlach, the host of Insight on Disability, where we give you the ability to overcome disabilities. Join me every Sunday night from 7 to 8 p.m. here on Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
And now more of Woman Talk Live on Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Woman Talk Live. I'm Ann Klossman, and tonight I'm talking with Lori and Bob Hollander of Relationships Work about how conflict can make or break your relationship. And so, Lori and Bob, before we went to break, we were talking about the skills that couples need to learn how to handle conflict, and we talked about one of them being active listening, the second one being assertiveness, not aggressiveness, and there's a third skill. So what is that?
And the third one's really putting it all together, and Bob and I call this the dance of conflict. Mm-hmm. And this is the hardest part. And the first thing is that people have to manage their emotions through a conflict. So, oftentimes we are so emotional that people start to escalate. And we teach them when you get above a 4 on the scale from 0 to 10, when you're escalating, you need to call a timeout and stop talking.
And go to your corner.
Yeah, and that's what people don't do. Mm-hmm. They keep talking.
And, it's interesting because when you create these rules, what you learn is, I'm so angry, but yet underlying, we're a team. Underlying, we've decided to do this. This is good. It's almost like your unconscious is saying, okay, I'm a part of this too. We know what's best. So in a sense, there is a sense of control. When there's a sense of control, there's less fear about a breakup. And then when there's less fear, there's less anger.
Right. And so it's not like walking out on the other person. It's really calling a timeout.
Yes. And anyone can do that, but you have to know that you have agreed with each other that that's okay.
Otherwise, because it can feel like abandonment.
It does, unless you plan for it, which is what we teach people. And then the other thing is to say, that give each other however many minutes you need, but come back.
Gotcha.
And that's what people don't do.
Right. And say that. It says, Lori, you're yelling at me and you're hurting me. And a lot of times you'll just kind of zip up your mouth.
That's right.
But by that time it's too late. Men are very sensitive creatures. We are. And so I will withdraw, but I'll say, Lori, I can't deal with this anymore, but I'll be back. And now I do come back.
Yes.
I actually do come back as, within maybe 20, 25.
Right.
Okay. But sometimes even people will do it after a day. Mm-hmm. And by that time, I might have a much better idea about what's happening. And I sometimes even apologize, but I will only apologize if I fully understand how you hurt. Not apology.
Yes.
I apologize and we're done with it. No, we'll go over it.
Yes.
And when I understand how much I hurt you, now I have something to apologize for.
And I assume this works both ways.
Oh, absolutely.
It does?
You're not the only person hurting, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
no. Right.
You aren't doing the dirty,
Right.
You're not the only one.
Because you know what? Underneath the anger.
She does it sometimes too. Right?
Mm-hmm. Underneath anybody's anger is pain. Yeah. And that's the second part of this, that we help couples move from the blame to the pain and then to the resolution.
Okay. So there is a resolution.
Yes.
Instead of just waiting for the next blow up.
Exactly.
Well, resolution is good, but it's more. But I see it more as an evolution.
Okay.
Because we always go back, Lori. We always go back. Seems to the same problems.
Yeah.
It's only because our unconscious mind is calling us back to a place that we need to do a little bit more work.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, you talked about conflict can make a relationship.
Yes.
Sounds like all of this would just tear it apart, but I guess the learning how to do it. Mm-hmm. Right. So how does it make your relationship stronger?
Yes. Well, every time Bob and I and other couples we work with go through the conflict, do it the right way, or at least 80% of the time do it the right way, and you get through it, and then you get to the apology and the forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And we specifically make sure that people get to that point and get back together. And when you do that, you learn so much about your partner.
We actually say, go back to the scene of the crime, what happened. You go through frame by frame what happened. And then you realize not only, yes, I hurt deeply, but my God, I didn't realize because I was hurting so much, I didn't see how you were hurting.
Right.
And so now all of a sudden you're connecting with very, very similar hurts. You're in this relationship with very, very similar feelings, and you're working through it.
And this is a person that you love and want to spend the rest of your life with.
Yes.
So why would you want to leave that hurt just out there.
Exactly. And in conflict, you recognize how much you love that person if you do it this way.
Okay. And then when people get beyond the anger and see that both people are hurting, that's where the deepest emotional connection is.
Okay.
And yeah.
Well, I was going to say, in the few minutes we've got before we go to break, again, what happens if you've got one person in the couple that just isn't going to work on this, isn't going to learn the skills, isn't going to do this? What is that person that wants to make some changes? What do they do?
You know what? Those people, I think they give off the impression that they don't want to, but they do want to. And so we will work with one person because there's a part of them that is desiring tremendously to connect up. That's our natural state as a person. Mm-hmm. And there are ways to help this person open up more and to connect up. And we have to believe that people down deep want to connect.
So do you think if that one person works on the skills and starts doing their part to put the skills in motion, that it's sort of like that ripple effect, it's going to make a difference?
It will emerge.
Yeah.
That deep primal desire to have a great relationship, because what else is life but a bunch of relationships? And we can help evoke that deeply in a person.
And so if you have a different response or a different reaction, it's going to change the conflict.
Yes.
Exactly. It's just like a system, like two gears.
Yeah.
And if one of them turns, the other one has to turn.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, we've got to take another quick break right now. And then I'm going to be back to wrap up my conversation with Lori and Bob. You're listening to Woman Talk Live on Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
Did you ever wonder what goes on inside the real-life marriage of two relationship experts? Listen in.
Bob, did you hear what I said? We're relationship experts. We coach couples every day on communication, and you're not listening.
Lori, I'm here and I'm listening.
Since when does reading the newspaper and grunting qualify as listening?
I can read the paper and listen. Nothing I ever do is good enough. Will Bob and Lori work this one out? You bet they will. They are real-life married relationship experts. Lori and Bob Hollander work as a team with you and your partner to create the relationship you want and deserve. Call us at 410-363-2825. That's 410-363-2825. Or visit our website, relationshipswork.com, for more from Lori and Bob.
If an accident or illness made it impossible for you to work, could you cover your bills and expenses? Sarah Rieger is a financial planner.
It's pretty simple. If you work for a living, you need disability insurance.
Think of disability insurance as insurance for your paycheck. It can help cover mortgage and car payments, utility and food costs until you can return to work.
Disability insurance is an important part of anyone's financial plan. A lot of times people don't realize how important it is.
It's critical to insure your paycheck.
For most people, their paycheck is their most valuable asset. It pays for everything in their lives, their homes, cars, daily living expenses, and so much more.
Sarah knows firsthand about the importance of income protection when she suffered life-threatening injuries that kept her out of work for more than 2 years. She had a disability insurance policy as a safety net, both on her own and through her job. If you have a job, you need disability insurance. Learn more at protectyourpaycheck.org. A message from the nonprofit Life Foundation.
Do you believe in the weight loss fairy? She waves her magic wand and transforms love handles into six-packs and broccoli into chocolate. Just one problem. The weight loss fairy is about as real as a no-calorie hot fudge sundae. But now, St. Agnes Hospital has created Well for Life, a total health program that empowers you to take control of eating, exercise, lifestyle, and mindset. Visit 4, lifeprogram.com today. The Well for Life program at St. Agnes. Wellness from every angle.
For stimulating conversation and entertainment, it's Capital Conversation with John Tegler. It happens at 7 p.m. on Saturdays on Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
And now more of Woman Talk Live on Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
Welcome back. You've been listening to Woman Talk Live. I'm Ann Quasman, and I get off on this YouTube music. And tonight I've been talking with Lori and Bob Hollander of Relationships Work about how conflict can make or break your relationship. And Lori and Bob, I know that based on this whole topic and a lot of the topics we've been talking about, that you've put together something that can help people work through this where they don't have to come in to see you.
Exactly.
So tell us about that.
Yes.
Not that coming in to see you is bad, but no.
But this is without the couch.
Yes.
Right? That's what we say. Well, Bob and I have developed a 4-week teleclass for individuals or couples that we are going to be starting called the 3 Keys to Intimate Love for a Lifetime. And we are very excited because we haven't done this before.
And it's 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Mm-hmm. It's going to be on Monday nights from 8 to 9:15, and it will be recorded in case people miss it. We are going to talk about the 3 keys to emotional and sexual intimacy and how to create depth in your relationship. And this is going to pull together all the work that Bob and I have done for 25 years. We have our own way of looking at how couples can become close. And we're going to look and teach the practical skills that we talked about tonight. Communication skills, how to deal with conflict and blame and the dance of conflict, and how to deepen your connection.
Well, will this be interactive, or is it going to be you basically talking to the class? So what's the setup for the class?
It's going to be some lecturette, and then we certainly are going to leave time for people to ask questions. And in between, we are going to give people products from our store, for instance, several workbooks that they're going to do in between the sessions and some audio programs. So the point is to take what you hear in that week and put it into practice.
So that's why having it strung out over 4 weeks is more important than listening to it one night and trying to remember what to do.
Absolutely.
Okay. Very, very good. Mm-hmm. And so besides the teleclass, that's 4 weeks, and that's like an hour and 15 minutes apiece, right?
Exactly.
So it's really 5 hours of teleclass.
Exactly.
Then they'll get all of these other resources that they'll have forever and ever.
Exactly. Okay. And they'll have the recordings. And, a lot of times, I'll tell you, I do this, and I think people do this with our recordings, is you can't just listen to them once. You listen to them again and you hear something else.
And so anyway, well, you know what? I just looked at the clock, and Tori's in there looking at me like, huh?
Oh, my goodness.
And so anyway, no, you know what? I was thinking we had another break, but we don't have another break. I'm going crazy. Okay. I just looked and her eyes got big, and I thought I was talking too long, but we don't. Okay. And so anyway, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. And so for people to be able to register for the teleclass, what do they need to do?
Well, there are 2 things. They can go to our website, which is relationshipswork.com, and click on events, or on our homepage it says live teleclass, and you can click on there and you'll get information about it. And the other way that people will know always what we're doing, because we're going to start some live events next year, is to sign up for our e-newsletter on our homepage at relationshipswork.com. Just put in your name, your email. We send out a weekly tip of the week, and we'll send out notice about what we're doing.
That sounds really exciting. And besides that, you write a weekly article for Woman Talk Live, and that's on the blog and comes out in the newsletter every week. And I'm sure you'll be talking about the teleclass and that information also. And so, Bob, are you excited about the teleclass?
I am. I think that what excites me is what excites me in our sessions, and that is that people can do this. They have the equipment, they have the resources, and they probably have the incredible connection and desire to have a great relationship with your partner. And all that, a little cognitive ability, a little knowing what to do, you will have a great relationship.
And I imagine you could listen to this together or separately.
Exactly.
Or if you're an individual and you want to go into a relationship that's strong, that this would be a good thing to do.
Absolutely. And with the recordings, you can share it with anyone you want.
Fabulous. Well, I want to thank you both once again for joining us and really giving us some food for thought. And thank you for creating this class. I think it'll be exciting for everybody.
Thank you, Ann.
And all. And so thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Ann, for bringing out the best in us.
You're just fabulous to bring out. And I want to remind everybody that if you heard information on the show tonight, if you didn't catch the details, just email me at ann@womantalklive.com, and I'll get that information out to you. And next week we have another great show coming up because Leonard Raskin, the CEO of Raskin Global, and our Women Getting Wise on Wealth will be here. And what we're going to be talking about is what happens now. The election will be over with by then, and regardless of who wins, what Leonard's going to be talking about is what you need to do with your finances before the end of the year and what you need to get straight as we go into this new year based on who wins the election, because there'll be possible changes that are happening in either way. And so, just what do you need to take care of? So it'll be important stuff. And so I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your weekend. I'm Ann Quasman. You've been listening to Woman Talk Live. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next Saturday night. Good night.